Welcome back to the channel, folks. This is Shane. In today's video, I'm going to show you what I've got on my pedalboard and how it sounds and how it also works in the context of music. So let's get into it. Alright, so let's get into it. Now, my main delay pedal is the Prisoner from Jux. I have a few delay pedals that I like to mix and match. It just depends on what I'm into at that particular time. I have three that I most likely go to. But this Prisoner from Jux has been on there for ages. It's a French company. This pedal's made in Japan, which is something I didn't realize, but it's a great pedal. Let's take a listen to this. This is my clean tone with the delay on. So it just adds a little bit of niceness. It's not too in your face. Now my overdrive is still the Royal Flush Dual Overdrive pedal. I love this. If I had to pick one pedal and one pedal only, I would take the Royal Flush. Having those two channels, it's a bit like a two-in-one, so you get the advantage there. It has a higher gain and a lower gain channel. I usually ride the left side, which is the higher gain side, for most of the stuff that I play, and then I click on the other side. So let's take a listen. Then I'll get onto the bridge pickup and click on the other side. Here we go. So as you can hear, I get all my low end and all the top end. Nothing is lost, which is what I love about this pedal. Now before the Royal Flush, I have the Maxon Apex 808, which is the newest addition to this particular board. Usually I have the Mr. Boost from Greenchild there, which is just a straight up clean boost, or I'll run a Maxon 808 standard, or a clon, or whatever. So in terms of my board, this position on the board is sort of, it's my change slot. I like to have everything very consistent when I play live, so I don't like much changing, but that slot I'll definitely like throwing in a different pedal from time to time. And it just depends on what I'm going for. If I want more of a thicker mid sound, I'll go for the Maxon. If I don't want to change my tone too much, I'll put the clean boost back on. It's just a personal preference thing. So I'm going to show you how that sounds now going into the Royal Flush. Here we go. So this is the left side of the Royal Flush. And now with the Maxon. Now another benefit to the Maxon is the fact that it rolls out a little bit of that top end. It has a little bit more than the standard 808, but it still rolls out that, it's got that vintage tube screamer sound, so it's rolling out the high end just that little bit, which makes for a more pleasant bridge pickup tone to a lot of people's ears. Now if we compare that to both sides of the Royal Flush, just gives me a little bit more compression and a bit more of that sort of sag feel as well, which means you got to kind of dig in a little bit harder and it gets kind of squishy sooner. So I like the feel of having this on my board. You can of course use it on its own as well. But I'll never just use a tube screamer unless I'm on the crunch channel of the Marshall, for example, and I want more of a volume push. Then I'll turn the gain down and crank up the volume. But it's a really cool pedal and it works really well with the Royal Flush. I'll also show you the clean boost. So let's try the clean boost into the Royal Flush. Here we go. The great thing about the clean boost is it works really well into both sides. So even if I'm using the lower gain side of the Royal Flush, it works beautifully. So it's been a mainstay on my pedal board for a number of years now, or at least a couple of years. So yeah, it works really, really well. Up next we have the Vibler. This particular pedal gives us a little bit of a vibratone sound. It just sounds really nice in the mix. It's one of those pedals that sounds better in context than it does on its own, but it still sounds nice on its own. And that's how it sounds clean. I kind of like it with just a little bit of dirt. And I'll only really use that just to add a layer of texture that's different from your standard guitar, because I could be playing this behind somebody. Or I just think that adds that kind of almost faux organ kind of sound. So overall, the Vibler has been an absolute mainstay. VS Audio make really great stuff. Now, my tuner has and probably always will be the Chromatic Tuner TU2 from Boss. I've had this thing now for a number of years, maybe 5 years or more, maybe longer. I really can't remember, maybe 7 years or something. It's just been super reliable. I don't know what else to say about it other than it works. So if you're gonna buy a tuner, buy a good one because they'll stand the test of time and last forever. I'm not sure I know a lot of people like the TC Electronic ones because they do some sort of flashy stuff. But in terms of this, it's built like a tank. It's been beat up and kicked around and it just keeps on working. So I can't really say anything bad about the Boss unit. It just does the job. It looks like every one of their other pedals and they got it right. So what can I tell you? It's really cool. And lastly, we have the GCB95F wah pedal. Now this particular wah pedal is pretty much the same as the GCB95, except it has a little bit less top end, which I like a lot. I own two of these. I own the GCB95 Standard and the 95F, and the F just sounded a little bit more funky and it was just a little bit sweeter to my ear. And the high end on the Standard one got a bit much for the kind of tones that I like, but it's all subjective stuff. But let's hear it with a little bit of overdrive as well. All right, just some random little bit of playing. Now we'll hear it with some delay. The other time I'll use the wah is if I'm out of ideas when I'm soloing. So I might be at the end of my, my blues guitar solo with nowhere else to go. So that's pretty much it. Now I'll show you quickly just some of the other pedals that I sort of cycle in between this one spot that sometimes gets changed. Here we go. One of the overdrives I slot in instead of the Apex or the volume boost can be the Overdrive OD808. I also use the Ponyboy Overdrive from Shelly. This is a clone, as you can probably tell by the little picture here. These are handmade in the US. They're about 109 bucks, so they're really, really great value. Coming out of Florida, and just, yeah, a really awesome pedal, and it stacks great with everything on my board. Now from time to time I'll swap out the delay pedal on the board as well. I'll either use the Chicalis Audio Works Tille, or one I've been using a lot on my amp recently has been the Crazy Tube Circuit's time delay, but because of its orientation it doesn't make a spot on my board. The other digital delay that I absolutely love is from Sitek. It's called the Serena, one of my favorite digital delays of all time. Has a real dark sort of tone to it. Doesn't sound like the Edge, which is a great tone as well, but it's a very different kind of sound. So yeah, usually when you think digital delay, you think really pristine delays coming back at you, but this has a really dark and moody overtone. One of my favorite delay pedals of all time, but that's pretty much it. Occasionally it's just mood based. It's like, I haven't used that for a while, let's try this, put that on there. Or it depends on which guitar or amplifier I'm using. I tend to opt for more of a clean boost most of the time than having sort of like a second, which would be the third overdrive on this board, given that the Royal Flush is a 2-in-1. So yeah, I like to mix and match, but the core of my board has always been this wah pedal, the tuner, the Vibler from VS Audio, the Royal Flush from VS Audio, and the, well, whatever delay sort of works. But that's the core foundation of my board. And I like the tones, it's very consistent. I could swap out a number of these pedals with other alternatives and still get the tone that's in my head. So that's what I look for. And I also look for pedals that stack well with each other, because that's hard to find sometimes. Not every pedal out there works really well with other pedals. Thanks again for watching, folks. My name's Shane. I'll catch you soon. See ya.